Hello, guys. And today it's the American election. And today, all Americans, such as myself, are going to try and decide whether or not Dr. Evil or Rip Van Winkle should get to live in a white supremacist named building called the White House, okay? Now, clearly, the founding fathers were clearly a bunch of racists because they clearly didn't want someone like Kamala Harris in it because they called it the White House. So they only wanted white people in it because they were just down and out racists, right? And you gotta understand that, okay? I think they should change, given that Obama used to be in the thing, although in fairness he was half white, they should perhaps change the name to, I don't know, the mixed race house, right? Because surely they've got some black workers there, some white workers there, some Indians, possibly, I don't know. They've probably got workers of many different races. So it's about time they stop trying to call it the White House and, be more multicultural and ethnically inclusive. Anyway, today we've got to choose between Donald Trump, who's the better known as Dr. Evil, and we've got, you know, what Donald Trump refers to as Sleepy Joe, Joe Biden, who's really Rip Van Winkle, right? Because if he gets the job, he'll probably fall asleep most of the time. He'll probably be sitting at his desk asleep most of the time, because he's getting on a bit now. And, it's difficult trying to keep him awake. So the public have got to decide whether they want somebody's a totally evil, or somebody's just gonna fall asleep on the job. Now this is really difficult, guys. But what are their policies? Well, the problem is, you see, in most cases, you usually get politicians who are going to try and move things forward a bit. They're going to be trying to be progressive and say what they would do that's different to what's happened before, how things would be better in the future. But in this American election, people like myself are going to decide how far back they want to go. I mean, do they want to keep things as they are? Or do they want to go back a few years and re-implement all the policies that were introduced a few years ago? Now, what's really amazing about this sleepy guy, as he doesn't seem to understand, is that originally the public turned down these policies about 4 years ago. They decided they didn't like these policies and they wanted them changed. And so basically they kicked out the person who's going to keep the same policies. So why this guy thinks 4 years later people want to go back to how they were 4 years ago, when 4 years ago they decided they didn't want that, I have absolutely no idea. But there you go. They aren't really any people talking much about the future. And just talk about going back and doing whatever's been done over the last few years. It just depends how far back you want to go. With Trump, he's going to keep things the same as they were 4 years ago. You'll probably have to wait about a million years for the wall. If the wall ever gets completely built, ever, you know. And we'll see how, if he does get in, we'll see how he actually manages to get Mexico to pay for it. Donald Trump himself actually said that Mexico's already paid for the wall, but I don't think most Americans believe that. Now, on the other hand, you got Sleepy Joe or Rip Van Winkle, whichever you prefer, who just says on the first day he'll reintroduce, all the old policies from the past. It'd be like going back, it'd be like being in Doctor Who, or, in Back to the Future, where you just go into a time capsule of some sort, either a car or a police box, and then see what life was like in the past, because it'll be brought forward to the future for you, okay? And But does he have any other policies? Well, Joe Biden seems to like drugs. He seems to think that lots of people should be allowed to take lots and lots of drugs without being arrested for it. Whereas Donald Trump thinks things should stay pretty much as they are in this. I know that Donald Trump is personally against drugs, personally on a personal level. I think he's never taken any. He doesn't personally think they're right. And on the other hand, Joe, who I think has had some drug addicts in his own family, believe that these drug addicts should be allowed to just take drugs if they feel like it. I know he wants to put them in some sort of institutions where they're told it's probably not a good idea, but, you know, he's not going to stop them doing it, okay? And so, those are some of the differences. Um, Donald says he's going to keep fighting for the jobs, he's going to keep fighting China. He apparently doesn't like Chinese people, maybe. I don't know. Whereas, you know, you've got, you know, Rip Van Winkle, who's probably one of his favourite songs might be I Like Chinese, you know? He wants to try and be friends with the world and let the world just, you know, walk all over him like they probably will. Whereas Donald Trump's a bit more the other way, he's just totally nasty and no country really wants anything to do with him. So it's really hard to decide who to vote for. Should I vote for Dr. Evil? Or should I vote for Rip Van Winkle? Or should I do what most Americans haven't got the guts to do because they've been totally brainwashed by all the media and vote for somebody else and look at all the independent candidates out there and ask themselves, which one of these candidates most supports what I believe in? You see, people talk about, I mean, you've got all these people in America, these politicians in America, talking about foreign interference in the American election. But I want to know how that's possible. I mean, what do they mean by international interference? Do they mean that, like, Russians turn up at the polling station and, like, point a gun to the heads of voters and say, either you vote this way on the electronic keyboard or I will blow your brains out? Are they saying that somehow these Russians that they claim have been interfering in the election have somehow hacked into the electoral computers somehow and changed the results of the voting to how people actually voted in the booths? If not, then what kind of interference are these idiot politicians whinging about? I mean, if they're just complaining that some foreign politicians have just gone on the telly and said they don't like certain candidates, well, surely the public can see through that. But then the public is supposed to be a bit on the dumb side. But you would at least think that the public by now is so used to propaganda from all parties and everywhere, they know propaganda when they see it. And so they can decide what they want to do with that propaganda. So my view is, why the hell are these people moaning about freedom of speech in America? I mean, America for years and years and years is bleating on and on and on about freedom of speech, about they support freedom of speech, about how anybody should be able to say just about anything they goddamn well like here in America. But what you gotta understand is when it comes to foreigners, and foreigners want to give their opinions on political candidates to the American people, it seems these politicians go absolutely bananas because they just cannot cope with some foreigners telling Americans what they think of their own politicians. It seems the politicians just cannot take constructive criticism from foreigners. And they're scared that foreigners might actually that Americans might actually take the advice of some foreigners when deciding who to vote for. Well, what are they scared of? If they really don't agree with it, why don't they do what they should do? Rather than whinging and whining about it in debates, they should instead look at the comments that are being made by these foreigners and counteract them and disagree with them and say why they disagree with them or why they think it's wrong or why, or even if it is right, it's saying right, why perhaps they have the policies that they have, and explain their reasons for it, But no, they just want to go on the telly and whinge about the fact that some foreigners have stated some opinions to some Americans about American candidates. I mean, come on, guys. I thought you guys were better than that. Surely, in this great country where there is total freedom of speech, apparently, surely they can cope with some foreigners telling them what they think of them. I mean, after all, let's not mince words here. For years and years on radio stations here in America, they've had, you know, you know, radio talk show hosts blasting all the parties. You've had different newspapers saying why they think one party's better than another party. So what's a few extra foreigners going to do that's going to make that much of a goddamn difference? Really, honestly, I think these candidates should just grow up and frankly take the criticism, if that's all there is to it. Who cares if some foreigners write on Facebook that they think, I don't know, Dr. Evil is evil, or that, Rip Van Winkle isn't going to do anything, because he's basically, they believe he should be in a retirement home. Well, guys, it's really difficult for me to decide who I'm going to vote for. So I think I should look at some independent candidates. I should be an independent-minded person, and I should look at some independent candidates, and I should choose people based on what their policies are, rather than what the media have said, and who the media think I should vote for. Because the media for years and years and years, in somewhere where there's supposedly freedom, have managed to brainwash the public into thinking there's only two possible people that can ever be the president in every 4 years. But what they don't seem to understand is that if the public put their mind to it, they could choose an independent candidate to be their president. And it could really happen. So guys, vote for none of the above and choose an independent candidate, because I don't think either of them probably deserve it at the moment, maybe. And even better than that, next time, why don't you stand to be president yourself as an independent and try and encourage the public to vote for you rather than the clowns that you're used to voting for. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.